This video is about a 9-year-old girl named Felicia, and she befriended a 23-year-old woman by the name of Ebony.
The day after Felicia went missing, her naked body is found floating in Tampa Bay. Forensic authorities would conclude that she had been repeatedly hit in the head, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death.
You have a body that is essentially deposited in water. This individual knew that they had done something wrong. They knew that they had left potentially behind trace evidence. The water is going to wash away any kind of physical remnant that's there.
Prosecutors allege Williams' neighbor, Ebony Wiley, left the girl with Ritchie, whom she had recently become romantically involved with, a decision that ended in tragedy.
Later, your findings follow as count one of the charge, defendants guilty of first-degree murder as charged.
Ritchie is found guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder, sexual battery, and aggravated child abuse.
We, the jury, unanimously find that Granville Ritchie should be sentenced to death. Yes.
As for Ebony Wiley, she pleaded guilty to lying to police and would end up sentenced to just 75 days in jail. Investigators and prosecutors, though, were able to get justice for Felicia, and it is justice that will last, because at the time of this recording, the Florida Supreme Court has officially upheld Ritchie's death sentence.
Seen this story and it really broke my heart because there's so many people in Felicia's life who actually dropped the ball. What I want to focus on in this video is all the red flags that was apparent that no one paid attention to. If people would have paid attention to certain things or asked certain questions or even said the word no, this little girl could still be alive today. This is not about blaming anyone because we can't turn back time, but it's about paying attention to those red flags, especially the ones that are so obvious. And so I'm gonna show you the court procedure, and then I'm gonna come back and talk to you.
I believe that opens up the door for me to question Ebony Wiley about some of the things that she's familiar with as far as Felicia Williams, such as that she was suspended from school, that she was stealing, that she was getting into fights. Because it's my belief that it's now appropriate for me to follow up with this witness and ask if she in fact talked about those things, which is very much part of what she's talked about before, because she talks about how she's taken her under her wings because she's getting in trouble, but how the mother warns her when she first wants to be friends with her, that Felicia's going to do what Felicia's going to do.
In that clip that you just seen, that was the defense attorney speaking to the judge. And if you listen closely to the things that he wanted to be able to question Ebony about, one of the things was that she befriended Felicia. Her and Felicia became friends. When this initially took place, it was in 2014. Ebony was 23 years old and Felicia was 9. And I could not understand why a mother would allow a 23-year-old to be friends with her daughter. What do a 23-year-old who do not have any kids have in common with a 9-year-old? So that's the first thing I've seen as strange when I started listening to this whole story. As a mother, I would have like, no, y'all, why would you want to be friends with my daughter? And I would have told her no, but she did not. She was okay with this woman that she did not know being friends with her 23-year-old daughter.
So can we agree that February of 2014 is when you moved into the rooming house?
Probably so, yeah.
You lived there for a few months?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The rooming house was a house that had 6 different individuals living there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And each individual rented a individual room.
Right.
Okay. And then you had a kitchen that you used, community kitchen?
Yes.
Okay. And you met Felicia Williams because Felicia Williams and her sisters would come over to the rooming house on a regular basis.
When I met Sugar Plum, which is Felicia,
Right.
she was knocking on the door.
I'm sorry?
She was knocking on the door, and nobody went answering, so I ended up answering the door.
Okay. You knew of Felicia Williams or Sugar Plum coming over to the rooming house because you had seen her coming over to the rooming house?
One time, I had seen her one time knocking on the door. Yes, that's how I approached the door.
Not just knocking on your door.
It's this one door to get in.
Okay. Well, did she not come over to the house to visit someone who you
I
believe
seen a
was
one-time visit, but
I'm sorry. This only works if you all speak one at a time. It's the court order.
Yes,
You can't
ma'am.
have two people speaking. So if you would
Yes, ma'am.
please let counsel finish his question.
Okay.
And then you will answer and he will let you finish your answer.
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
So repeat your question.
Had you not seen Felicia Williams come to the rooming house to meet with the man that you believe was her uncle, I believe?
Well, she told me that that's why she was coming over there to see her uncle.
Did you in fact believe that that's what she was doing?
Yes, I believed it.
Okay. Did you know whether or not it was the uncle?
No, I did not.
All right. So that's how you meet, right?
Yes.
All right. And at some point, you decide that you want to be her godmother.
Not at that time, when we first met, but yes.
And if you listen carefully to my question, and if you don't understand, please ask me to ask
Yes,
you
sir.
again.
Yes, sir.
At some point,
Yes, yes.
you decided you wanted to be her godmother
Yes, sir.
during that 2-month time period, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you did that because you felt like you could be a positive influence on her,
Yes.
that she could use some guidance,
Yes.
because you were aware that she needed some guidance, in your opinion.
Yes.
Okay. As it relates to school, yes?
Yes, sir.
As it relates to behavior,
Yes, sir.
as it relates to not stealing.
Yes, sir.
No one else knew that you had decided that you were her godmother. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes, her mother knew. Her sisters them knew. Yes.
They all knew.
Yes, they all knew.
During this same time period, from time to time, you would consume ecstasy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The second red flag that I noticed was that a 9-year-old girl was going to a rooming house, and her reason for going there supposedly was to visit her uncle. And we know sometimes when you use the word uncle, it's really not uncle. It's just a man that's saying that he's the uncle. In reality, that he's not.
Talking about May 16th, when you came by to pick up Felicia Williams from her home.
Okay.
Recall that?
Yes.
Now, after you had picked Felicia Williams up from her home, at some point, you had her call her mother to let her know that she was with you, right?
Yes, sir.
This is after you had picked her up, right?
Yes.
Okay. On previous occasions when you would get Felicia from her home, or you would go somewhere with Felicia, would you contact the mother yourself, or would you always have Felicia do it?
Never. That was the first time I told her to contact her mama. Her mother never knew when Felicia leave or go. So that was the father's. I took Felicia, and that's why I told her to call her mother.
Okay. So there was never a time.
No.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
There was never a time in the past when you called Felicia's mother and said, "I have Felicia."
No.
Okay. And there was never a time in the past where you asked Felicia to call her mom and say, "Tell your mom you're with me."
No.
Now, when you came to pick up Felicia on May 16th from her home, her sister, Delmarshae, was present. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And Delmarshae wanted to join you guys. In fact, she said to you, "Can I come along as well?"
No, she didn't. Little Brenda did. The
Who
little
did?
sis-
Little
her little,
Brenda?
yes, her little sister wanted to come
Okay.
along. She didn't.
When you say little Brenda, is that someone who you also sometimes refer to as Miss Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay, but Miss Brenda is little, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was little Brenda who asked to come along.
Yeah.
Okay. So the older sister, Delmarshae, who I believe is a year older or younger than Felicia, do you recall?
Oh, 1
1 year older? Okay. Delmarshae didn't say, "I want to come along."
No.
Okay. And you didn't tell Delmarshae, "No, you can't come along because I need to talk to Felicia about the problems that she's causing me at work." You didn't say
I
that.
didn't say exact words like that.
Well, did
I
you
just-
say something like that?
Brenda wanted to come along, and I was speaking to her fat girl as and preferred as that. Yes,
Saying what?
I said that I need to talk to Sugar Plum.
About what?
Come to the workplace.
And the fact that you didn't want to come into the workplace, right?
Right, and that was correct.
Okay,
That was
all right.
only right.
And that's why you wanted to talk to her alone,
I
right?
was going to talk to her at McDonald's. Yes, yes.
Okay.
The third red flag that I noticed is when Ebony is saying that anytime she wanted Felicia to go anywhere with her, she would just take her. She would not ask the mother. She would not tell Felicia to even tell her mother where she was going or where she was at or that she was leaving. She would just take her anytime she wanted to, because in Ebony's mind, she was saying she was the godmother. You should never disrespect the mother of the child. And according to what Ebony was saying about Felicia is that she was stealing, that she was, places she shouldn't been, and that she was there to help guide her. You guide a child by teaching them to respect their parent. So what Ebony should have been doing anytime that she wanted to go somewhere with Felicia, wanted Felicia to go somewhere with her or any of the other children, she should have said to Felicia, call your mom and ask her, not tell her, ask her, is it okay if you come with me to the store? If it's okay with her if you go here or there with me. That will help the child understand that she has to ask permission before she goes anywhere. Because Ebony did not respect Felicia's mother, she reinforced the fact that Ebony's behavior of doing whatever she wanted to do, because the mother was nowhere in the decision making of where her child was going or what her child was doing.
When was the next time you saw the defendant after you met him when you were walking with Jeremiah?
I seen him that night.
That night?
When I met him that day, I seen him that night.
And where is it that you saw him?
Oh, he came and got me.
Was this like a date?
Yes.
And how did it come about that this date was going to happen? Was it talked to you about over the phone prior to him picking you up?
When I got home, I think he had called me again, and then he was like, he wanted to spend some time with me. So I guess we made it as a date.
And did you meet up somewhere? Did he come pick you up?
He came pick me up.
And what did he arrive in? Did he walk there or drive there?
He drove there.
And what was he driving?
The silver Lexus.
The same silver Lexus you had seen him in earlier that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And where is it that he picked you up from?
My mom's house.
Do you recall about what time this was at?
I know it was at night.
And what did you and the defendant do?
We drunk. He provided me drugs.
Okay, when you said you drunk, what did you drink?
Hennessy. Yeah, I bought a bottle. He provided me drugs.
Where were you at?
What you mean?
Were you out at a restaurant?
No. It was at the apartments. Door Oaks Apartments.
At the Doral Oaks Apartments?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do anything or go anywhere in between him picking you up and going to the Doral Oaks Apartments?
Meaning?
Did you go anywhere?
No.
Okay.
No.
So the defendant picked you up and you and him went to the apartments?
Yes, ma'am.
Was this the first time that you had been to his apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any discussion before on the phone that that's where you all would hang out that night for the date?
No.
So when you went to the apartment, you said that you were drinking Hennessy?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how many drinks you had?
Oh, probably like 2.
Did the defendant drink any Hennessy?
Yes.
Do you know how many drinks he had?
Probably like 2 too.
And you said that you took some drugs?
Yes.
Who gave you those drugs?
He did.
And who is he, the defendant?
Yes.
And what drugs did he give you?
He gave me Molly.
The fourth red flag was with Ebony. That was so irresponsible for her to meet a man on the first night, didn't know anything about him, but she ended up going with him to his mother's apartment. She's drinking Hennessy, and then she also is popping pills and sleep with him the first night. As women, we should always think safety first. You have no clue who this man is. You have no clue where this man is taking you. You have no clue of what this man may or may not do to you. You don't know if this man had any type of diseases or anything like that. That was very dangerous for her to even get in the car with him and leave. That was very irresponsible for her to put her own life in danger. Fortunate for her, he did not do anything to harm her.
Did you have feelings for the defendant when you?
Yes, I did.
When did you start developing feelings for him?
That night. That night, we had a nice conversation about life and relationships, and I thought we was going to take it further, but no.
When you say that you had a nice conversation about relationships and life, can you go into a little bit more detail about what you talked about?
He sold me a dream. That's what I believe. He sold me a dream.
He sold you a dream?
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I make a lot of plenty of money. I'm going to take you, work with me, and stuff like that." And he sold me a dream. That's what I believe.
What did he tell you that he did for a living?
Work on phone towers. Work on phone towers.
Did you think that you were falling in love with him?
Yeah, I did.
You did fall in love with him?
Yeah.
The fifth red flag. As women, we have to have self-respect. She did not show any type of self-respect. And then she believed what this man was saying to her as far as he's gonna, they're gonna be together, all this stuff he was promising her. And she even stated she was in love with him. She believed him. Why would you believe a man that you don't even know? She was full of alcohol. She was full of Molly or ecstasy or whatever it was that he gave her. So her decision making was not based on facts. Her decision making wasn't based on truth. Her decision making was based on being under the influence. She was being lustful, and she took those feelings as being love. He was also under the influence, so he's basically feeling the same way, lustful. So he's going to tell her anything that he feels that she wants to hear or need to hear in order for him to get what he wants out of that situation. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, someone came to me and said that it was a young girl coming up to the job looking for you and stuff like that. And I think that was the second time she had told me about Sugar Plum coming up to the job. And really, I was going to decide to call HRS and going towards her mother's house because I'm like, I know the school hours, and I'm like wondering why she's showing up at the job around school hours. And then I called him and vented to him.
When you say you called him and vented to him, is that the defendant?
Right.
And did you vent to him about your concern about Felicia coming up to your job?
Correct.
And what was his response when you...
Because I brought it up. I was like, I'm going to call HRS on her mother. And he was like, who you talking about? I'm like, my God, child, she's showing up at my job during school hours. And I'm like, how in the world this child is out the door around this time of day and then if she's not at school? And he was like, no, don't do that. That might be your gift. You need to care for the child. Maybe you need to take her to McDonald's. We need to take her to McDonald's and sit down and talk to her. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? You're right. Okay, we could do that.
And did this conversation take place with him when you were at work that day on May 16th of 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
The fifth red flag is the fact that Ebony was venting to a man that she only known about for 3 days about a girl that wasn't even her daughter. Any issue that she had with Felicia should have been taken up with Felicia's mother. And then the audacity of her stating that she was going to call HRS on the mother because she felt that the mother wasn't being responsible. Here she is being just as irresponsible because she's allowing a 9-year-old to go with her without even asking the mother for permission to take her daughter here and there. So that's been irresponsible and that's been disrespectful. And then she doesn't have a good decision-making skills because she left with a man that she only known for 1 day.
As soon as we got to the apartments, when I noticed that that's where he was going, I said, Sugar Plum, call your mother and let her know that you're with me. And I dialed her number and she let her mother know that she was with me.
Whose number did you dial?
Her mother number.
And what is her mother's name?
Felicia.
Felicia Demerson?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you there when Felicia placed that phone call to her mother?
Yes.
And did you tell Felicia to tell her mother that she was at Doral Oaks apartment?
No, I told her to let her mother know that she's with me.
And no other, she didn't provide any other information
No, ma'am.
to her mom?
No, ma'am.
The seventh red flag is the fact that she involves a man to have a conversation about a child that he did not know, the child did not know him, and basically Ebony did not even know this man. She only known him for 3 days, and now she's getting him involved with the little girl that is, like I said, this little girl is not even her child. If she had any issues with with Felicia coming to her job, once again, she should have spoke with the mother. Now here she is with this little girl in a car with a man that Felicia don't know, going somewhere that Felicia don't know. Her mother don't know that she's in this car. Her sisters don't know that she's in this car as far as where they're actually going. While she's with this child, while Ebony is with this child, Felicia is her responsibility. She gets high, take a pill that is known to make her feel sexual, while she's with a child that is now her responsibility. She is with a man that she's only known for 3 days. She don't know this man, what his motives or potential are, and she's taking this little girl into a dangerous situation.
So you go to his apartment. Did the three of you go upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, it was his apartment upstairs?
Yes.
On the second floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happens when you all go into the apartment?
I know I took the Molly.
I'm sorry?
I had took the Molly, the drug that he gave me. We went upstairs. She sat down. She was already proceeding eating in the car, and she finished eating while she was up when we got upstairs. So we had ended up talking. Well, I started talking to her about the stealing part, and coming to my job. And you're supposed to be in the house. If you suspended of anything, you're supposed to be in the house because you can get your mother in trouble. And
so let me stop you there for a minute. So where is it that this conversation is taking place within the apartment?
On the couch in front of me.
And you said that you began to talk to her about stealing.
Correct.
Was there a concern that she was stealing?
Yes.
So what was that concern?
Well, I found out, her family members and her sisters them always put her down and saying that she a thief and stealing. She was stealing her sister money and buying cell phones, stealing her mama money, buying cell phones. And that's when I found out she was a thief. But I didn't blame her. I mean, would try to stone her, and because I'm not really her mother. I could just only talk to her and let her know that, hey, that's wrong. You can't be doing that. You could get people in trouble.
Was there any conversation with the defendant about that?
Yes.
And what was he there when that conversation took place?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he partake in that conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did he partake in that conversation?
He jumped in and said, if I leave some money right here on the couch, would you get it? And Sugar Plum said maybe. And I was like, no, she won't. She won't touch your money. She won't touch your money.
And you said there was also conversation about if she was suspended from school that she needed to stay at home.
Right, she needed to stay at home.
Was there conversation, you had stated earlier that you were concerned about her coming up to your job. Was there a conversation with her about that?
Just a little bit. I just let her know that if you know that you're supposed to be in the house, then you can't be coming up to my job like that. Especially if it's school hours. And I let her know.
When you took the Molly on this day, did this Molly make you feel sexual at all on the 16th?
It's controllable. Yeah, later on that night it did.
Okay. Did you remain at the apartment with Felicia and the defendant?
When?
After you got there after checkers?
Yeah, I did.
How long were you there for?
I was there for like 10, 15 minutes. That's when he went in the kitchen and he told me to come here. And as soon as I got up, that's when I felt under the influence. And he was like,
you say you felt under the influence?
I felt the Molly kicking in. I felt high. I started feeling high. So that's when he was like, I went in the kitchen and he was like, do you know a way to get some weed from him? I was like, yeah. So I called my granddaddy.
So what happened after you called your grandfather?
He told me to come over there to his house.
And did you go over to your grandfather's house?
Yes, I did.
Did all three of you go to your grandfather's house?
No, ma'am.
So how, where did Felicia go when you went to your grandfather's house?
So when I confirmed with him that, my granddaddy got some weed over there, I asked, I told Felicia to come on, which is Sugar Plum. I told her to come on, and he was like, no, you don't have no license, and you finna go get some weed so I could watch her. And I asked Sugar Plum, and she was okay, and she said, yeah. And I said, I'll be right back.
So it was the defendant's decision for you to keep her there so that she wouldn't be in a car with you who didn't have a license or
Yes, ma'am.
who had marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you concerned at all about leaving her with somebody that she had never met before?
No, I wasn't concerned. I wasn't concerned because how he made me feel comfortable on the first night I met him, and how he made me feel when we went to go and pick up Sugar Plum. So it was like he had that concern of like a father figure, like.
And once they got back to his apartment, and she was stating that she started talking to Felicia about, stealing, skipping school, not being home when she should be, and different things like that. And then when Granville entered into the conversation and asked Felicia, if I left money on the couch, would you take it? And she stated that Felicia said, I might. At the time, what he was doing is actually trying Felicia. What he was doing was seeing that if money is presented to her, will she be willing to do something for it? And that kind of goes back to Felicia and the uncle in the rooming house. That's why I kind of question that. Because sometimes, if sometimes there are these men who will give little girls money to let them touch them or to sit on their lap or to do little things like that. May not actually be a SA situation, but it is a SA situation, if you know what I'm talking about. So that's the vibes I got when she stated that he said, if I left money on the couch, would you take it? And Ebony said she might. And then right after that, Felicia said she might. And then right after that, he asked Ebony to leave and go get weed. And she stated she was going to take Felicia with her. And he said, no, she's okay staying here. A responsible response to that would have been, no, I'm going to take her with me, but I'm going to take her home. And then I'm going to go and get what you asked me to get. Because at this time, this little girl should not be in that house with Ebony, with Ebony or with Granville, because they are under the influence of something that makes them feel sexual. So this child should have been taken home at that time. To be honest, she should have never been there. But at that time, before anything happened, Ebony should have been responsible enough to say, no, let me go ahead and take her home, and then I will get what you need and I will come back. But instead, she left this 9-year-old girl with the man that Felicia did not know and that Ebony did not know.
Were you calling Granville or the defendant to let him know that Felicia was not at the apartment?
So halfway when I got almost there, he called me. And I was like, that's not the gate code. He was like, yes, it is. So when I got to the gate code, I typed it in again. And it was not the gate code. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting frustrated. So that's when I seen, it was a little boy who had approached me with a white karate suit on. And he was like, you trying to get in the gate? I was like, yes, can you come over here and type in the code? And he typed in the code and I came in.
How was the defendant's demeanor on the phone when you kept calling him, trying to get in the gate and telling you about that Felicia was at CVS?
I couldn't detect it over the phone.
You couldn't. He acted normal to you over the phone?
Yes.
So ultimately, did you, after you had initially arrived at the gate, you left to go to CVS, you then came back to the gate, and eventually you were able to get into the gate?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you then drive back to the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see the defendant back at the apartment?
Yes, I did.
And where did you see him at?
He was standing outside.
Outside where?
Of his door.
And he was upstairs standing outside of his door?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he look like?
He had no shirt on. He was.
I'm sorry?
He had no shirt on. He was like he was sweating. Like he was just. And I looked up as I was driving. I looked up. I'm like, damn, what is going on? So I pulled in the drive-through. I went at the park lot and I went upstairs. And he was telling me they ain't gotta let her go to the store and she ain't come back yet.
Let me stop you for a minute. When you left to go buy the marijuana, was the defendant fully clothed?
Yes, he was.
When you arrived back home, what pieces of clothing were missing from his body?
When I arrived back to his apartment, he just had some pants on.
What was his demeanor when you all were talking about Felicia going to CVS?
So he was frustrated. Really, he was mad because she ain't come back yet. And I was like, "You need to calm down. She gonna come back. She always walk off and stuff." And I said, "You sure you show her the your door number?" He said, "Yes." And then he was like, "I told her to go down this alley and go to CVS." And I said, "Okay, you sure you showed her the door?" And he was like, "Yes." I said, "She gonna come back. You just need to chill. You just need to calm down. She gonna come back."
Were you concerned that Felicia was not there and that you could not find her at the CVS?
Yes, I was very concerned.
So what happened next?
That's when that's when he calmed down and I started thinking, I'm like, oh my God, just grab and left and go to the dang store.
I'm sorry, what was that?
After he done calmed down, that's when I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, dang, she done went to the store and he done let her go to the store. So that's when I was about to start panicking. Like, why you let her go to the store? You know, she already ate, you know. And he was like, I don't know. She really wanted some candy. And I was like, I want to pray. And I was like, I need to get in the closet and pray.
So why did you need to go in the closet?
Because I was getting ready to panic, knowing that I was high and I was trying to have just calm down. And I went in the closet. He's like, you go in my mom's room in her closet and pray. And I just stand there, got on my knees and started praying and came.
So when you said that you went in, he told you could go in his mother's room to pray. Was that the room with the bed in it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went inside the closet in that room?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you stay in that closet? Do you remember?
Right. No longer than 20 minutes.
What was the next thing that happened?
I came out, and then I proceeded to sit on the couch. I'm not sure that he rolled up a blunt. I think he did. I think he had rolled up a blunt in them little rollers, paper blunts.
And little paper cigarette rollers?
Yes. And I think I took a drink.
I'm sorry, but was that the marijuana that you had returned?
Yes, ma'am.
From your grandfather's house?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry, let's step back for a minute. When you went to the CVS, did you describe to the CVS worker what Felicia looked like and what she was wearing on that day?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what she was wearing on that day?
I'm not sure. I know she had some jeans on, some black shoes, and a straight shirt.
So you said you prayed in the closet. What was the next thing you then did? Had Felicia returned during that time?
No, she did not.
So what did you do next?
So I came out. He was rolling a blunt, and I took a drink, and he proceeded sexual towards me, and we had sex.
And where is it that you had sex that time?
Right there in the front room floor. Right there in the front room floor.
Was that the room that has the couches in it?
The front room, yes.
Okay. At any time when you were there, did you look around the apartment for Felicia?
No, I did not.
Did you ever go out on the back porch and look for her?
No, I did not.
Anywhere? Did you ever go to the other closet, the spare bedroom closet, and look for her?
No, I did not.
Did you trust the defendant? Him saying that she was not there?
Yes, I did trust him.
Did you drink anything on that day?
I think I took a shot when I came out the closet.
What did you take a shot of?
The Hennessy.
Did you smoke any marijuana?
No.
That evening?
I don't smoke.
How long did you stay at that apartment for?
Before he took me home. Probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I know it ended up turning dark.
Okay. At any time during that time that you were at the apartment, did you ever call Miss Demerson and tell her that Felicia was missing?
I told her sister. I called her sister. I think her sister either called me or I think I called her.
Okay. Did you ever call the mother?
No, I did not.
And when you say you called her sister, what sister is that?
Which is Cha-Cha.
So at some point you said it got dark and you ended up leaving the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
At all, did you and the defendant ever go look for the victim out around the apartment?
No, we did not.
Why didn't you go look for the victim?
I was following his lead. He said, I'm finna drop you off home. I was like, oh, okay. And then I'm saying to myself, I'm like, well, dang, we ain't even going to look for the little girl. Like, I'm saying it to myself, but it's his car, and I'm not going to say nothing out the way.
When she finally got back, when she finally got in the house, even though Felicia is nowhere in sight, even though she cannot find Felicia, even though he's saying that Felicia had left to go to the store, go to CVS and come back, instead of her being concerned about that child, she decided to sleep with this man. Here this 9-year-old is missing. She decides to enjoy herself with this man. And then after everything is said and done as far as what they did, she left. At no point in time did she say, well, let me call the police to let the police know that this child is missing. I don't want to leave until I try to figure out what's going on. Excuse me. She leaves. She still never calls the mother. She calls the sister. And the sister has to end up calling the mother. And then the mother met her with the police to try to find out where her daughter is. And so this let me know that even though she kept saying that she loved the little girl, she cared for the little girl, I think at some point when her life was kind of getting together, Felicia became more of an annoyance to her. This is why I'm always saying that counseling should be available for children. Because if everything that was stated about Felicia was true, as far as her stealing from her mother, stealing from her sisters, skipping school, going to buy cell phones, and doing all this stuff, she should have been in counseling. Because either she's a bad kid or she's a troubled child. Something may have been going on with her, and it would have been better for her to be in some type of counseling program, getting help to understand what was going on with her. And so this little girl should not have been trying to seek other adults' attention, as far as the uncle at the rooming house, and then end up meeting a 23-year-old woman, Ebony, and becoming friends with her. A 9-year-old should not seek friendship from other adults. A 9-year-old should be trying to be friends with people, children her age, around her age. So once that happened, the mother should have been like, no, you should not become friends with her, and had her in counseling or some type of program to keep her busy. Then on the other side, you have to wonder, why would a 23-year-old want to be friends with a 9-year-old? Y'all have absolutely nothing in common. Ebony did not have any kids, so she couldn't say, well, I want to be friends with her so she could be friends with my daughter. You know, I want to get to know her. She can come over and hang out with my daughter. No, she was hanging out with her. And that goes back to what I was saying also. Stop allowing your kids, or stop allowing people to say to your kids, I'm your godmother, I'm your auntie, I'm your uncle. Because when you say, as a parent, when you say, okay, yeah, that's fine, she's your godmother, that's going to make the kids feel like it's okay. It's certain, if you say uncle, just, if you say Miss Ebony or godmother, you see the difference. Miss Ebony is just a person. She's not related to me. That's just Miss Ebony. But when you throw godmother in there, that word mother, that word is like, okay, I'm safe with her. And so why would you give a person that title that did not earn that title? Why would you give that person that title that don't deserve that title? Why would you give that person that title and you don't even know her? As a mother, you don't know this woman. You don't know anything about this woman. And you don't question why you as a 23-year-old want to be around my daughter. And like I said, this is not blaming anyone because we can't go back in time. But I feel that we can learn from this. As parents, we can learn to look out for people, regardless if it's a woman, a man or whoever, understand what's going on with our children. Like I said, sometimes when they're acting out, when they're stealing, they're not necessarily bad kids. They may be troubled, maybe something that's going on with them. It may be something that happened to them and they're acting out. And so they need to, go into counseling to kind of deal with and see what's going on with them. And then on the other hand, if you truly see a child that is struggling and you feel, okay, I can help them out, I want to be a mentor to them, you still have to respect the parent. You still have to teach them, hey, you're acting up, you need to respect your parent. By respecting your parent, you're going to always ask them for permission to go somewhere. You're going to always let them know when you're going somewhere. Hey, I'm not at home, I'm here, I'm there. You have to always stay in contact with your parents. And if your parents say, no, you can't go, then you can't go. And that's okay. But you have to also teach them discipline if you're going to be a mentor to them, the way Ebony is saying that she was trying to be a mentor to Felicia, but she did everything wrong. As women, you cannot just meet a man on the side of the road and feel that this is your life, this man is going to be your saving grace. And that's the way Ebony's seen this total stranger as her saving grace. So Ebony was dealing with some issues herself because she's going around, taking pills and not even thinking about, I'm with a child that's not mine, that I'm responsible for. So my job is to make sure she's safe. My job is to make sure she's okay. If however I take her away from her mother, that is how I should return her to her mother. She should have never left that child alone with that man. Well, she should have never spoke to that man about that child because that child wasn't hers. Whatever problem Ebony had with Felicia should have been discussed with Felicia's mother. And they should have been working together to deal with whatever issues they felt that Felicia had. And because you know that there's predators out there and they're always seeking for prey. And like I stated earlier, I felt that once he heard all this negative stuff about Felicia, he seen her as prey. And that's why he wanted to get involved. And when he got her back to his mother's house, apartment, and he asked her that question, if I left money on the couch, would you take it? He was trying her, like I said earlier, to see how far would she go if he asked her if he offered her money. And I feel that he wanted to use that, knowing that she wanted things. She was stealing because she wanted money. She was buying cell phones. So when Ebony left, I feel that he started talking to her as far as, okay, if I give you money, would you do this? Or, different things like that, to see how far he can get away with trying to get his needs met, because this man is on Molly. And as Ebony stated, it makes you feel sexual. And so why would you leave someone in that condition with a child that really can't defend herself against him?